Welcome back, Pix fans. We are deep in the magic pits of Oceania. If you're not caught up or just joining us, Oceania is the one place where I am not all full tech. And so I'm not even leveled, barely. I've rushed to get the mole claw so that I can mine this magic stone as quick as I am. And I've got a magic wand. We'll be farming fire magic and wind magic and earth magic to kill bosses and level up. That way I can use the industrial smelter and digital controller to double my gold output and use the goblin trader to get the magic of my choice, earth. Not that this thunder magic I'm hiding below up top isn't used for magic taming and other PvP uses. Same for this water crystal used for ice ammo and other PvP uses. Let's see, and so while we're in this mine that I hide under, we'll go to story time again, part 2. This time, when PixArk came out in early access, which PixArk, as you already know, because these videos are really for hardened PixArk players in the first place, which there's like 8 people. I say that sarcastically, apparently, because I guess there's more than 8 people. Anyway, when PixArk came out, it was the same kind of deal as Ark. You couldn't server transfer, and they came out with new servers too fast. PixArk specifically, they have took the assets and kind of copy-pasted Ark into this voxel Minecrafty world and another game in their IP, Darklight, to give us the extra magic kick into Ark. The problem with them creating new servers too quickly, see, they would come out with 2 at a time, so there wasn't Skyward out originally, it was just the land. And so they'd come out with 2, and then in 2 more weeks, there'd be another 2 servers. And so people hadn't been playing for 2 weeks until the new suggested server is another server. And they basically killed off the servers by putting out servers too quickly, and you weren't able to transfer yet. It was kind of like how we left Ark before they ever invented server transfer and moon pods. They were talking about it, but they never dropped moon pods for ever, and we left. So same kind of thing with PixArk, is they dropped servers too fast. Anyway, we all joined. We kept our Scooby Scoo name at the time, and we built like the noobs we were, just right on not the Novus grassland, but right where it became grass. It was right on the border enough to where people spawned right beside the base, which is both unfortunate yet also fun, because there were quite a few groups, starting when it's new. There was 2 South American groups, a friendly group and a not-so-friendly group, and then there were at least 2 other main English-speaking groups. And to be a group, you're a number of people that are active. There are other people that are fringes on the server that you just don't even consider because they're not as many people or as high level. And the first base is, we build this base out of stone, because we don't know any better. And of course, being a stone base and being at the spawn, it gets broken into and messed with every single night. So many different things happen to this rock base at spawn, and that you'd wake up and it would be broken into, and you would do more to it. It would get bigger, it'd get an extra layer, it might get extra defenses. Um, for instance, of the two South American groups, there was the good group, which wasn't, they were just playing the game, and then there was the bad group, which they're just playing the game too, but they're about that raid. They're like my buddy, where just everything he makes is to make explosives. It's just nothing other than he's just like making explosives to go use explosives on people. And so, even though we weren't all that bad at the time, or ever really, but so one day the South American group that's about raiding come over with trikes, and not just any trikes, because the cool thing about the land, and when it came out and they were developing it, is they kept on dropping subspecies for the biome. For instance, the Quetzal in the frozen lands has this dash where it sprints really fast, but they came over with the mountain forest trike, which has like a defensive shield. But anyway, the trike is real mean to stone bases, and so they bust the walls out, and we were built on this weird hill, and everything was, yeah. So it was kind of sketch, as they're like knocking stuff in with trikes, and after learning how mean trikes were, lucky enough we were online to see what did all the damage, and then with the trikes and fight them. Um, but the mountain forest shielding ability was pretty nice there. Of course, this is all at super primitive level. Um, so we end up doing an extra skin, but so now basically the walls at any kind of ground level where you could use a trike, there after that day, they are all at least 3 blocks wide, with the interior block holding iron spikes, so that whenever you hit it with the trike, you hit yourself with spikes. Anything at ground level, which was this weird 45-degree thing because we built on a hill and all kinds of things, um, had spikes in it to combat using trikes to just knock through the rock all willy-nilly. They came over with a golem. Basically, Camillo and his crew came over every night to that base we had. And that when that base finished, rock base was a giant skyscraper. I don't know how many floors high, with a spike pit underneath the roof, because people would just, you're new and you get metal tools. Metal tools can damage rock, and so someone with a metal pickaxe would just use dirt to climb to the top of the roof, pickaxe through, and fall into the top floor. So I filled that with spikes, and soon enough there's just, everything's a trap. The part where you don't fall into spikes, you fall into something else, and it's a cell with a glass door so that we can look at you falling in the trap. Let's see, we're almost to Ice Ferry. We're loading up here. Alright, and so we've got our magic, and I'm gonna fast forward this, of course, but we're gonna farm us some ice fairies. You saw me in here cleaning out the blocks so that it could spawn, because somebody's put some stuff in there, and now we're gonna spam some magic to it while I get back to the story. But yeah, every night someone's breaking into it. There's new people that get some metal tools, and because it's stone, they're digging in from the side or climbing onto the roof. It was real common. You always had to get blocks off the side. Um, and so basically, after being attacked every night, all the time, and I mean this whole time during the story, really, we are hiding in various underground locations, one of which being a mine south of us in the desert that we saw it was a mine, and we just dug a bunch of sand and covered over the mine so it didn't look like a mine, and we walked in there and just claimed it as our own mine. That way nobody else saw a mine to go farm and tried to fight us for it. We just covered it up and pretended like there was no mine there and farmed it all and used the train. But instead of going back to base, we were actually going down to bedrock and using the train and the mine that you know, the train that was from the mine to base to just take everything from old base to new base at any time. And basically the whole time, every day, we would come back and we would repair and fix, and we would make stone base better, like we actually lived there. When in reality, we are building a giant bedrock base, hollowing out enough for the 3x3 giant gates, and then to have another 50 blocks to shoot, because we were going to put turrets outside of that. But initially enough for just the 3x3 gates, the like 75 by 75 by 30 or so we had to clear out. And so we cleared out these 3 behemoth gates worth just all the time, while, I mean, it took a while using the drill and then coming back to pickaxe out the better minerals. And so all the while, the South American raider group that's been attacking us every night at the spawn base, they are of course attacking everybody else. They're attacking the other South American group, they're attacking the Americans that live in the southwest by the water, and they're attacking, and the other English speakers that live northeast, kind of by us. We're kind of in the middle north. And so, up there in the northeast, they're actually building what was probably going to be the best base. Because they were building a giant water base where they had built anything underneath the ocean and then kind of flooded it with the ocean when they took the seafloor down to backfill in their water base. And so they had an original water base in the land days. It was a pretty good water base. They made a little glass area to where you could fly in and had some turrets above the water. Eventually, I was able to have myself a full tour of the base when the server was shut down and they sent the game files. I was able to make my way in there once it didn't mean anything. But they had a nice little base that they didn't finish. Had they finished it and been able to clear out the rest of the ground to make more water around their base, it would have been pretty good. I mean, they did use lesser glass, just expecting the turrets and the slowness from the water to mess with you, and no one to have the patience to try to remove all the water. The ocean in PixArk is a pretty dangerous place. It's hard to tame anything there, because whatever you tame is now fighting the whole ocean and probably dead. And so it's definitely trouble. And so anytime the South Americans would attack somebody, of course you would go watch and, maybe fight if you can determine who's who and see what's going on. Because, you get bored, and by this point, our 2 weeks had passed. We're not the official recommended server anymore, so it's these groups that are on the server. There's no one. If they join, they'll go to the new server, the new recommended server, and it'll continue like that. Every server is just killed off because after 2 weeks they drop more servers and the new people go there. So there was plenty of fighting between everybody, and every night we were broken into, whether it be by noobs or pretty much also the South Americans just always came by to fight. It was maintaining the base on spawn and hanging out there sometimes was really just a way to PvP. Like, it wasn't even a base anymore. It was more of an obstacle course for PvP, for people to break in and you to fight around this base, which doesn't matter because all your stuff is in some hole underground. That by now is got giant gates and is a 20 by 20 steel, but then with volcanic rock over, because if somebody has a bad graphics card and it doesn't render well and they render the structures first, I want it to kind of blend in with bedrock. It probably didn't have that effect, but I tried, and we did the same thing to the top roof of the giant 3x3, because the main base was just inside the 3x3. So if you were to get into the 3x3 giant steel gates, then that's where the base is with all the turrets. Really, that is just so that there's 50 blocks for the turrets to be able to shoot at you. And these guys somehow, I guess through that rendering effect and not having a good enough computer, found the base, the giant base, but it was already done. The layers were on. It had the volcanic on top, and they somehow saw it and dug straight down, directly down. I found the holes directly down, and they, after blowing a hole in the top and seeing all the turrets and the plants and getting all messed up, I got compliments on the base, and I don't know, I feel like it killed their motivation on how we have just been fighting for like a month or whatever in primitive and just doing whatever in the noob area, all the while, manufacturing underground base command, and it was pretty good, because I like to do things a little OCD by numbers and stuff, and I had the slow turrets, and I mean, it was more than pretty good. Inside it had everything, but in the center we had 6 of the elemental shields to where they could rotate their time. You could rotate which one's on, or if one got broke, you could switch on the other one. And while we never got to use them in the raid, and they've since been nerfed more to where they don't have that effect, which I wish they would, at least just for workbenches and the like, because we could turn one of those on and then have a fight inside the base, just me and the tribe mates, and shoot each other with no risk of the rocket blowing up all of our tames in the pix box container, or our smelters, or storage boxes, or any of that. And so the 6 elemental magic shields in the middle, kind of made you OP, because nowadays the elemental magic shield, when you put it in, it protects natural blocks, and if you keep hitting the natural blocks with your pickaxe, it will damage the elemental magic shield enough and destroy it. Whereas before, I don't even know. We might have been invincible. I don't know. So a lot of people fight. We are on pretty good terms because we have a general neutrality until attacked. But then also you get bored at some point and you paint a blue and red stripe on your rock base and start calling ghost wyverns, squad cars, and gargoyles, motorcycles, and you start pulling people over and seeing what people are doing, making woo-woo noises and voice chat. So we're killing ice fairies. Forgot about that. But I need XP, gold, goblin traders. Remember? Let's see. So they're adding stuff and plenty of subspecies and what have you. I don't know, there was always little things. But the biggest problem was you couldn't transfer, and they kept on putting out new servers and just killing any population. Which, oh snap, that's it right there. That Ascendant Sniper. If they would have simply waited 2 months in between adding servers and just added one at a time per game mode, it wouldn't even been that big a problem. But that's what makes, when they finally dropped Skyward and transferring, that made people want to come back. And yeah, you heard about that through the email, where they were like, yeah, we are going to delete all of your, but they're like, yeah, we're going to delete your game. And, by this point, it's good and dead. And they were offering a download, basically, of the game mode so that you could have it. And that's when I was able to get into the water base, was I went and dug my way in and checked it out. Oh, the South Americans, the ones that were always raiding people, we did find them, but it was all offline, and they had stopped playing at that point. It was like a week after the server had died, 2 months and a week in, or something, or a month and a half in, or something like that, because the numbers tapered off. A month and a few weeks in, I don't know, something. Anyway, we found their metal box way at the bottom of some ice caves. and they had a little train track that led back to their little metal box, and everybody just builds with, oh, them spikes, bro. Oh, them spikes. I tell you what, the ceilings render and people can see your base and dig straight down and to your giant 3x3 and make you build so many iron spikes to put spikes on top of your base so that when they dig down into spikes and die. And 75 by 75, that spikes are 5 blocks across, and so I had to put giant spikes on everything. What was my point? Right, so their doors, they did the same kind of thing, because everybody is doing the same kind of thing. Your main base, you build out of doors so that people don't see, and they've got better durability. And they've got turrets in a blank space underground. And so we make our way in along their train tracks, and before their turrets, we start digging and making a basically kind of like a pit row, so that we can take what's going on at the ground, all their plant turrets and whatnot. And we use unnamed magics and whatnot to attack their plant turrets and their electrical boxes, kind of softening up at least the ground floor. And then, we had the idea, well, why not just cut straight to the point and use sand? If we dig up to the top of their underground base and make a square and just drop sand until the sand comes up, we'll make ourselves a perfect hallway of sand directly onto the roof of their base, and then we'll be able to shoot rockets and get right into their base, turn off their generators, and call it. But all the greatest plans, what happened was, so in Minecraft they have some ghost block thing, and ours is similar. There's like a lag where when you remove a block and it appears back for your client for a bit, 30 seconds or so, and back in the day, even in the super early land, they patched it, but you would go in there and you would be able to see the world, and they patched it by making that a black screen, and this was the ghost block, and so originally you can see everything, and the patch was now you as a player, it gives you a black screen. And so what we had done is inadvertently we had dropped sand onto a turret and gave it the ability to shoot through walls. It gave it ghost block sight, and so when you came anywhere near the base, you got shot. And it was very unfortunate until that turret ran out of ammo, because we basically gave that turret God mode. And they fixed it by making sand not fall, but it doesn't work anyway, because I've tried it with flint, because flint still falls. I was thinking, does it work with flint? Could you ghost block with flint? And it doesn't. But, which brings up, make sand fall again, hashtag make sand fall again, like in the comments, and then maybe in like months, if Snail ever reads it, they'll make sand fall again. No. They won't even. So yeah, we're speeding these up at like 10x. So it does take quite a while, and this is actually the first one to where if you look at it, you can see how much ammo it actually is as a primitive wand, which is like twice as much with a real wand. And so it's not yeah, it's not the quickest thing here. But first, a moment from our sponsor, Royal Shadow Clans, an amalgamation of cash shop games. You sign up this week and use coupon code @GymBlog, you'll get a free hero and some package, and every week you get 90% off your first package that you waste money on, so that you can assumedly have little miniature wars on a 2D battlefield and be king of the defrauders who either waste all their money or they waste all of someone's money, or y'all are buying credit cards on the dark web and it's just money laundering fraud back into the game. I mean, I think that's how influencers and YouTubers work. Isn't that how people buy subs? It's just money laundering? I don't know. I'm not the police. That was just what I assumed when I looked at it at first glance. Get this lotus plant here, hit my lever and making it to where I can't put them up. It's inconvenient. Alright, that's good enough. Filler. Am I going for a behemoth already? Look at that. No way I am. I don't think I have a good enough wand. Did I just get a good wand drop? Have I even been paying attention to this? Woohoo! There's a behemoth. Look at him. There's a buddy. So this is the bread and butter here, this stone. Oh, look at him. Look at this. Bam! They like them apples. Well, bam! Oh, yeah. That's the stuff. So the Ice Castle in the land days. The werewolves had, like, the worst aim. They could, like, pretty much almost not hit you. Like, you had to be trying to get hit by a werewolf. And so you would find the steel bone swords, and that's how we bum rushed, is we used steel bone swords, and we were repairing them, and we were running around these ice castles, all steel bone, and using the swords to beat up werewolves. And like I think we tried to fight the Ice Witch from, like, the ground, like a bunch of noobs, and the staircases have all these traps. There's crazy, like, behind the behemoth, there's these, like, frost breath traps that instantly kill you, and down both of the... Matter of fact, if you go into that behemoth, all 3 hallways out of that room will kill you with magic fire breath. And so we would be running around that ice castle and just, like, if you didn't say something when you were coming up, like, we shot you. And we were just like, sorry, you can have your stuff, but, like, you can't be sneaking up behind people while we're killing stuff, because we're running amok in the ice castle, and, you know, there's bad guys that we're all at war with here, sneaking around. And so the Ice Castle has always been an integral part in the land. But with, you know, new servers, there just wasn't enough of an influx. I mean, at least there's Earth. Some dude's mine truck. Yeah, I know, we gotta get nosy around here. These just exploratory caverns. What's going on? But yeah, they never they never found the place normally by following the mine cart, because we had sealed up the mine after we moved all of our stuff and Rock Base became PvP. We had just sealed up the track that we had used. And then, yeah, it somewhat petered out. Except for the story of the 8-year-old alpha, which we don't have time for. You have to like and subscribe, and I'm gonna kill some more behemoths and ice fairies. I think I'd do it on Skyward too in Oceania and show how annoying it is. I don't find anything stalking this track. Anyway, like and subscribe. Argue in the comments. Make sand fall again. Make sand fall again. Hashtag make sand fall again. What do we want sand to do? We want it to fall again.